Hey there.
Hello.
How are you doing?
I'm good. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Do you pronounce your name Anyara?
It's Anjara.
Anjara. Okay. Got it. So yeah, why don't you tell me how everything's going?
Um, well, good. I am preparing to retake the MCAT in April.
Okay.
So I took it for the first time in last year in August.
Okay.
And I want to improve my score. I took it very late, so it didn't really make sense for me to apply.
Mhm.
And if I can do better, like I will try. Mhm.
Yeah, how'd you do when you took the test in August?
I scored a 508.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, that's the bad thing was I feel like my score distribution.
Yes.
Yeah. So I got a 125 in Kempis,
Hmm.
129 in cars,
Wow.
124 in biochem,
Uh-huh.
and 130 in psych soc.
Interesting. This is very, very different from what I usually have students tell me. Usually students tell me that cars is like their toughest section, and they usually have an easier time for CP and BP, but that's a really great car score. I just have to say, that's really great. Um, and Psych Soc, of course. But okay, so the CP and the BB, that's what you feel you need, I guess the most practice in.
Yeah, I feel like when I took it, I didn't do, I know everyone did UWorld. I didn't do it. Like I didn't do enough practice problems. And I feel like that could really help me in
Take
in-
practice tests.
sorry?
Did you take practice tests?
Yes.
Which ones did you take?
The AAMC ones.
And you took all of them?
Yes.
How'd you do in those, generally speaking?
I think so right before the test, I was scoring like I think the right before like 2 days before my test, I scored a 517.
Got
So
it.
I was like really hopeful. But I just found the actual test a lot harder in the science sections. And I wasn't prepared for it.
So that 517 that you got, that's for one of the AMC tests, but how did the other AMC tests go?
Yeah, I scored between uh at the beginning I think I scored like a 502, something like this.
Okay,
Um and then I would score like a 508, 509, 511,
got
like
it.
513. Mhm.
Huh?
I would have to check exactly, but it was around like it was a big variation. Mhm.
Yeah, and did you see the same kind of thing where your car score was really high and your psych soc score was really high, and then CP and BB were lower?
Yes.
Got it. Okay, that's an easy fix, I would say, because yeah, most of the time, again, like most of the time I deal with students who um have trouble with cars, and that's really hard to teach, but that's really amazing that you're doing so well in those in cars and psych soc. So this is an easy fix. So okay, awesome. So did you take any third party full lengths?
I believe I took like my very first test was a blueprint full length or half length, I can't remember.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I believe I scored around like a 501.
Got it. Yeah. Okay. So what have you been doing in regards to, yeah, studying, I guess?
I have to say that I it was like I would say I started really ramping up my studying 2 weeks ago, like sort of like the after all the New Year's stuff.
Mhm.
Um and I've been doing UWorld
Yep.
and Sketchy. So Sketchy has like an MCAT uh with little videos now. So I've been doing them for biochem and some of like the organ systems and for orgo as well.
Got it. Yeah, how far along are you in UWorld?
Not very much. Last time I saw, I think I have like around 2,000 cards to do.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. So let's see. So okay, so generally speaking, you're doing UWorld stuff, you're doing sketchy stuff, and that's mo is that mostly like untimed kind of like content review type of thing?
For UWorld?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. So I had a very hard time when I at the beginning I was doing like 60 questions, but then it would take me forever to review them and then I would like not review them. So
Yeah.
I've been doing it in the tutored mode and like reviewing right after.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's good. When you're doing it that way, how many questions do you think you um are doing, like let's say a day or something?
30 questions, I would say.
Okay. So okay, so yeah, for UWorld, don't bother with UWorld cars. Um, and I would say also like don't bother with UWorld behavioral sciences just because you have that stuff down. Or at least you did have it down. I don't mean to like, neglect it entirely, but I would prioritize doing UWorld for, you know, topics that you seem that you feel that you have trouble with in CP and in BB. Um, so okay, that's good to know. Now, let's see. Okay, so let's think about CP and BB. So, usually with CP, um, yeah, I guess like what would you say you're, you know, having like what is giving you trouble in terms of CP? Like, is it like conceptual stuff, like let's say like some physics conceptual stuff, or is it like the math that you have to do, the calculations? Like, tell me about,
Yeah.
what.
So I definitely feel like I waste a lot of time in like the math and the calculations.
Uh-huh.
Um, I wasn't able to finish either of those sections in the real test. Like I was missing like 10 to 15 questions at the end.
Got it. Yep.
So and organic chemistry, I feel like I got like I just froze when I saw my first passage and it was like Orgo and my
Yeah.
mind just went blank
Uh-huh.
for a while. So more like a lot of like time management
Yep.
for Chem Phys especially.
Got it. Yeah. I have a special timing strategy because I've been there too. Um, I remember doing a CP section on the actual test, it was like a radioactive decay question and about radon. And, you know, I was like doing the calculations and stuff. And um the thing with calculations is that, if you're doing it and you get the wrong answer, it's hard to move on from that because it feels like, oh, I'm so close. Like, I'm just getting, I'm just messing up some, minor calculation. So it could be something that you put a lot of time into. So that happened to me, and before I knew it, the section time was uh elapsed, and I had like two passages and a set of discretes left to do, so I ended up voiding that one. So but after the test, when I looked up like radon, I discovered that I was using the wrong thing on the periodic table. I was using the thing for radium.
I see.
So yeah, so that's why. Okay, so yeah, I developed like a very good timing kind of strategy that Um, but I guess we can go. I can go into that in a bit, but yes, also the math stuff. Yeah, I can show you a lot of really good like math calculation tricks and stuff. So I would say on the test though, I guess like I can talk more about this when we talk about like the overall plan. So, but before I go talk about that, for BB, what type of issues? Usually people have issues with keeping track of like all of the acronyms that they give you, and data interpretation and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What did you feel?
I feel like I had content issues for BB actually.
Okay.
I never took physiology and my bio classes never covered like the organ systems.
Okay.
So all of this was new information for me.
Yeah.
And so I didn't do a good job doing content review. So I feel like not having that, like not knowing what they were looking for, what I should have been paying attention to in the passages because of that content gap was
Now,
my big
yeah.
issue.
Now you mentioned physiology, but what about like biochem, like metabolic pathways, things like that? Like,
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I feel like those passages were always tough, like the experimental passages with biochem and like enzymes and
how do you
yeah.
feel about, because when you mentioned content gaps, you mentioned physiology.
Mhm.
Um, but like for the rest of the stuff in the BB section, like the biochem stuff, how are you with the content for that?
Yeah, I would say that for BB, and I think my score reflects it, like I need a lot of content in several areas, not just in the organ systems.
Okay.
Like viruses, like yeah.
Huh?
I I would say just content in general was an issue.
Okay, okay. That's good too, because that's an easy fix. So a lot of everything you're telling me is are really easy fixes. Um, do you use Anki?
I used it for psych soc.
Okay. Well, that seemed to have worked out for you, right? So that's the thing because so while the MCAT is a critical thinking test, it also requires you to know a really vast amount of information and um and the sections that are the most content dependent are psych soc and then BB because there's a lot of content you need to know. Um, and they can just ask you like, out of the blue, like, what's after fumarate or something like that. So I have students do Anki because Anki is really the best way to, I shouldn't say the best way, but it's the so all right, the psychosocial concepts of like elaborate rehearsal and maintenance rehearsal.
I think so, maybe. I don't know. Depending on if, I
So
don't know,
so Anki is a great example of
maintenance rehearsal.
yeah, yeah, because it just ensures it's the best way to memorize something, right? And um elaborate rehearsal is like when you do like a deep dive and you really like go into it and understand it and have like a rich understanding of it. That assists in remembering the material, but it's always good to also have some maintenance rehearsal down, especially with Anki because Anki lets you sort, the flashcards by, how well you know them.
Yeah.
So like if you know it well, it won't show it to you too often. If you don't, it'll show it to you with a greater frequency. And so Anki is the best tool to like maximize the, you know, stuff that you need to have memorized, the stuff that you have to, have in your memory. And yeah, and you saw that with Psych Soc. So I would say to do that with BB stuff as well.
Yeah. I've started to I'm starting to like create my own from like UWorld's things that I get wrong. And just putting them on flashcards. But I feel like I have because I also like downloaded Anki decks from like online that I saw on Reddit.
Yeah.
And I I haven't like I think I'm keeping up better with the reviews for the cards that I create myself, but I'm like unable to like I'm not able to keep up with the pre-created decks like that I downloaded from the internet. I mean, I could if I just
Yeah, yeah. So that's a common question that people have about, how to approach Anki. Don't I would say don't approach it. Like don't feel like you need to do all of those cards. Um, I never rarely do I have students, or even me when I took the test, like, rarely do I see, people actually like finishing any of these decks. So what's more important is just that you do a little bit every day, um, or almost every day. So what I usually have, so like I'm going to make like, a very detailed like study schedule for you, but for each day I would say to just do like 45 minutes to an hour of Anki, and that's pretty much it. So I wouldn't so like yeah, I wouldn't worry about like, if it says that you have like 2,000 cards remaining, right? Um so yeah, so just do like 45 minutes to an hour of Anki a day. Um and okay, yeah, it's good that you're making your own cards because you're doing like elaborate rehearsal by learning the concepts and stuff through eWorld, and then you're making the cards for it, which is great. Um and and I would just say that if you can, you know, use like one of the shared decks and just go over the some of the biochem, BB, and physiology stuff, like the bio stuff. But what you're doing is pretty great. Learning the stuff from UWorld and then making cards for that. So yeah, I would just say to just do it on like, on a time basis. So okay, that works out. Okay. So that's good. And let's see. Yeah, are you like working or anything, or like, are you just like 100% like studying?
I'm working full time.
I see. Okay, okay. Well, that's tough. So, um, like it's like a 9 to 5.
I switched up my schedule so that I could study in the morning. So
Yep.
I'm working 11 to 7.
Uh-huh. Got it. So, and that's Monday through Friday, right?
Yeah.
Got it. So, and then let's see. Yeah, so how many, so like, yeah, when I guess, so you study from what time to like 11?
Like 7 to 10:30.
Okay. So like 3-ish hours a day. Okay, okay. Um, and your test was April, like towards the end of April, towards the,
It's April 13th.
oh my God, that's my birthday. Okay. So, okay. So let's see what that gives us. So that's, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. 9 weeks. Okay. Um, 9 weeks. Okay, awesome. So this is what I think we should do. Um, so I separate it all into phases. So like the first phase is like the accuracy phase where you're just really like learning the stuff. I wouldn't worry about doing anything timed for this phase, but I would have you do um well, exactly what you're doing for UWorld. I would do um as many like, passages and questions as possible that are, physiology based or biochem based, or, pathogens like viruses and stuff. Um I would yeah, do a lot of UWorld for that and learn the stuff that way. And when you mentioned that Orgo was given, you were kind of like blanking out on, um, is that one of your something that you feel like you have content gaps in as well?
Yes.
Okay. How bad would you say that your content gaps are for Orgo?
I feel like some of these like specific reactions like aldol
I
condensation,
see. Yeah,
sugar.
got it. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Awesome. Okay. That makes sense. So, yeah, so let's have you do a yeah, so let's have you do so like yeah, I'll make like a spreadsheet for you that has all this information, but it'll basically have like a calendar for each, from now until your test. And see if I can actually make it now. So Anything else while I look for this that you want to tell me?
Um, no, I just how does it normally work for like the tutoring session? Let's say, do you meet with students like regularly, like once a week? Like how does it usually work?
So I guess it'll depend uh on where on how um so yeah, it'll depend on how like I guess like how much you're going to be doing. Like okay, so one sec, let me just find um spreadsheet. Okay, so I'm just going to make April 13th, MCAT dates, and so okay, so I go from like your MCAT date and I go backwards. Uh like so okay, so since you took the AMC full lengths, um we may include them again, but we may not. I'm just gonna write stuff out to indicate that we're uh not going to be including it just for so yeah, here, let me just share that with you. You can see what I'm sharing here.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm gonna add like a calendar thing like this for you. So okay, 13th, your exam, and then I'm gonna go backwards. So I call it phase. So like essentially like phase one, or rather, let me go forwards here. So like 10th, and then let's just say, you start on the 12th or something. So it'll be phase one. So that includes Anki, 45 minutes to, why is it different? So Anki, 45 minutes to hour. Um, UWorld, um, BB, comma, Orgo, or I'll just write UWorld targeted content review. And let's see. Um, oh yeah, and then well, usually I have students do like some car stuff, but I think you're pretty good with that for now. So that's what the phase one will look like. So Anki and UWorld targeted content review. So and that's definitely something you can do in like those 3 hours, when you wake up. And I'm just gonna bring this up to, let's see, how 30 questions a day of UWorld. Um, yeah, do you know, I mean, it's okay if you don't have it open, but how many total UWorld like questions and passages that you still have to get done?
I can pull it up quickly.
Sure. Oh,
Uh,
and then how are like the physics content stuff?
well, for my August test, once I had the formulas down, I was good. But I feel like it would be useful to have a more like just conceptual
Got
I
it.
think that would help a lot, like for the conceptual questions for physics.
Got it. Got it. So yeah, so I'm just gonna fill this up with phase one stuff. Then What would be like days that you would be able to do practice tests? Would it be like a Saturday or something?
Saturdays.
Okay.
I- I'm just going to put in the chat
Mhm.
screenshot of my like URL's unused questions.
Sure. Okay. Let's see. So bio 414. How are you with the so like yeah, what you just sent me? How tell me like which like this gives us a pretty good, breakdown of all the different, topics and stuff. So like what are some other ones that like so like how are you with like, you know, for Gen Chem like atomic theory, thermodynamics, electrochemistry, how are you with that stuff?
Um, I don't know. I feel like I've just been doing the questions, but I don't really know exactly what is the specific topics. I haven't looked at that.
Okay. Um, so okay, so I'm just gonna put it here so that I can kind of write on it. So basically, um, so okay, you're probably gonna be good for this. We're not gonna be doing this. Um, Gen Chem, you didn't really mention it being like something that, that is what you think of when you think of the content gaps that you have. So for bio, like, okay, like this is all physio, right? Right? Uh, did you are you able to hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So this, do you see what I'm drawing?
Yes.
Yeah, so this is the physio stuff, right? So that's going to be a priority. I guess reproduction can count as well.
I
Uh,
think molecular biology for me as well.
yeah,
Like
got it. So let's just have you do the entire, the entire one for bio. Um, Now for biochem, how are you with, these topics? I think, yeah.
I think the last two I need to review.
Oh, like carbs, nucleotides, and lipids.
Yeah, like I need to review the
Hmm.
pathways.
Oh, sorry, say that again.
Like the metabolic pathways.
Oh, so are you talking so this one, but did you mention this also?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Um, yeah, I think that the carbohydrates, nucleotides, and lipids could be something that we can go over. Like I can go over that stuff relatively fast. Um, for you. So like if we just think of like the highest priority, content stuff to learn, let's say it's like all of the bio stuff here, metabolic reactions here, organic chemistry, um, you mentioned like aldol, like those types of stuff, which I guess would be kind of like this.
Yeah.
Um, how are you? Yeah, with the separation techniques and spectroscopy, how do you feel about that stuff?
I feel like I don't remember the specific like
Mhm.
regions on the IR spectrum that I have to know, uh,
Mhm.
which I need to memorize.
Yeah.
But I guess I understand the overall like assays. I just but the specific things that I have to know, I haven't memorized it.
Yeah. So I'll just say, I mean, you probably know your functional groups, but and their reactions. Um, Honestly, like there's a almost like a tiny, the smallest likelihood that you'll see something as elaborate as, you know, some aldol reaction or, you know, something like that. So, so this includes, I guess, like I don't know if that will include those types of reactions, but it's the only thing that says reaction. So I'll just, add this to the list of stuff that we're gonna be going over. And then physics, you said that you did well when once you understood, like, you understood the or knew the equations. But do you notice any glaring content gaps for any of these topics?
Yeah, I feel like just I just need a lot of practice. Sometimes it's like a very simple problem and I try to like fit in an equation that I've memorized and it just overly complicates it
Mhm.
versus like if I just like drew a diagram and like saw it, then it would be much simpler.
Yep.
So I think like the conceptual review of like just basic things in physics would be helpful.
Yeah, so that could be something that we do in our sessions as well. Uh, because yeah, I think in a session we can definitely cover like carbohydrates, nucleotides, lipids, and then any of these topics in physics. So in terms of like priority, I think that your number one priority will be this entire like 414 questions on bio, and followed by 139 questions in biochem. And that's honestly it. Like, you know, maybe like these reactions for the functional groups, but yeah, I would prioritize the so let me do some math here. I'm gonna cheat and use calculator. So we got whoops, 414 plus 139, 553 questions, and I wrote down for the rest of February. So this is it's kind of like, I guess, 1.5 weeks or so. So like, okay, 7 days. Wait, what am I talking about? 7 days. Okay, 17 days, 553. Oh, okay. That comes out to like around 33 questions a day, which is pretty much what you've been doing. So, yeah, so we can have, oh, where did I even put that? Okay. So for basically so February, so like, okay, this is, the 10th is today. And then, so if you rolled, targeted content review, which means the 414 bio questions and the 139 biochem metabolic reaction questions. If you do 30 of them a day, right? Like 30, I could even just do it like this, like, okay, like 30, and then that plus 30. Then I can just move this through. Um, I'll include the weekends just for now. Okay, so that's pretty. Here, I'll get rid of what I drew. So yeah, so let's say that you do 30 of them a day, right? You'll
Mhm.
reach like 540. So like this will probably just take you till just one day after. So yeah, this one over here. So let me put that in. And then this will be 540 plus 30. Five, yeah, so you'll finish by the first, right? So yeah, so I'm gonna share this with you. So what you're going to do is each day, whatever you do, um, like let's say on the 12th, right? Let's say that you did 45 minutes to an hour of Anki. You just hit the strike through button to indicate that you've done it. If you end up doing like let's say like 30 minutes, you can just edit the cell to say 30 minutes and then put the strike through, right?
Mhm.
So that's how, yeah, so that's how you're going to be using like the calendar thing. And yeah, and if you do 30 questions of UWorld a day, you're going to finish up all the bio stuff and then the metabolic reaction stuff by March 1st. After that point, you will enter phase two. So phase one is like the accuracy phase where it's all about getting the right answer and doing whatever it takes to get the right answer, like learning whatever you need to learn to get the right answer. Um, but then phase two, that's when the timed practice tests come in. And since you've already done the AMC ones, and even if you didn't, like I have students do AMC stuff for like phase three, but for phase two, I have students do third party full lengths. And when I say third party, I mean Altius or Blueprint, just because those are the tests that are significantly harder than the AMC tests, but in a way that is useful. It's not like Kaplan can be harder in a non-useful way, like by testing minutia, but Blueprint Altius will be significantly tougher in that the passages are going to be dense, the questions are going to be dense, you know, and it'll just look really, really scary. Um, and so in addition to it being good practice because it's harder, it's good practice like to psychologically get yourself ready to deal with the very real like probability of you getting tough looking passages on the actual test. I've seen that happen a lot of times where the actual test, the first passage of the first section is like just overwhelming. And when that happens on on the actual test, that's going to really psych you out. Like if you didn't understand that first passage and let's say you skip it or you try to move on and you go, onto the rest of the questions, like just that thought of you not getting the points from that first passage could really mess you up for the rest of the test. So the third party full lengths will basically just put you in that high stress environment like over and over again. I think that the more tests that you take, the better you're going to do. So we would be able to do 5 third party full lengths. Um rather 6 third party full lengths. So basically we're going to start off with you doing Anki 45 minutes to an hour a day, URL targeted content review, and that will be until, March 1st. If it's sooner, that, we'll adjust this. And then, yeah, then you'll start doing the third party full lengths now, and that's phase two. And what I mean here by blind review is like, let's say that you take, so, okay, 2 things about the third party full length. So basically, um, the only useful cars, um, you know, practice like passages are going to be either AMC or Jack Weston. So those are the only ones you want to use for cars. So that means that when we're using Altius or Blueprint, what we're going to do is this. You're going to start off taking the CP section like you normally would, but when it gets to the cars section, you are not going to take the Altius or Blueprint cars. You're going to move on over to, have you ever seen like on Jack Weston's website, um, the practice tests that they have?
I think I did like once at the beginning of my, but
Hmm.
I didn't really do much of Jack Weston, but I think I did it like once, like the practice exams.
Got it. So yeah, if you go to so this is the Jack Weston website, and on the left here, you see cars practice exams. And so here, there's one called Los Angeles, New York, San Diego, Chicago, Vancouver. After that, it goes just into specific types of passages. So we're not going to do those. But yeah, this will be like, five, or if you did one before, four. But, that's what we're going to do instead of the Altius, the Altius or Blueprint cars. And you'll do that section, and we'll use a score converter and stuff. But then you're going to come back to Altius or Blueprint to do your BB section and then your Psych Soc section. Okay. So um so that's how to do the third party full lengths. Now, have you ever heard of a blind review?
No.
Okay. So what that is, okay, let's say that you take your test, and let's say for CP you get 10 wrong, right? What you're going to do is you're going to write down which 10 you got wrong, but you're not going to write down the answer. And you're going to do like a second attempt of the test, which means again, no answers are shown. But this time you're going to do it untimed, and you're only going to do the ones you got wrong. So you're only going to do the 10 here. So what's the purpose of this? The purpose of this is to separate the questions that you got wrong because you really didn't understand it from the questions that you got wrong because you were running out of time, right? Because the blind review is essentially you doing the ones you got wrong without the time constraint, right? So let's say, yeah, CP you get, let's say, 10 wrong, and then you do your blind review, and five of them, you know, you're getting right, but you still have five wrong, right? Then you're going to do your regular review, which is when you just read the solution. And let's say after that, two of them still don't really make sense. When we meet, we'll go over the two that still don't make sense. So instead of us kind of, I don't want to say wasting time, but instead of us having to go over so many problems, we'll go over the high priority ones that are still giving you some issues after you've already exhausted all of your other resources. Like, does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
What do you think about that?
I think it's it's a good way to review it, especially like the trying to do it untimed and just trying to find the answer. That might be very useful.
Yeah, because it's so common for someone to for anyone to just look at the solution and then kind of convince themselves, oh, like I get it now, I won't get it wrong again. Um, but the blind review actually tests that, like it actually shows you doing that. So yeah, so that's the reason for the blind review and the regular review. Um, so yeah, so let's say that we start that, on March 2nd. That'll be like your first one. And on the day of your full length, like don't do anything after. Like don't do the review after. Just rest or whatever. Do anything else besides MCAT after. And then maybe the next day do your blind review. And you could probably do your blind review and regular review in like a day. Um uh, so that's what you're going to be doing for phase two, essentially. And then like, throughout the week here, we can have you um, you know, uh, continue to do some review on like, let's say that from the full length that you took, we still find some problem areas. Um, so in between the full lengths, we can have you do like some more UWorld, perhaps. Or if it's like, like if it's UWorld stuff, like the stuff that we didn't do like before, like the bio, like not including the bio stuff, but like maybe some more like, I don't know, anything like physics stuff or whatever. Like whatever the practice test shows that you have content gaps in, that's what you can kind of, what we can have you do in between the tests. But for the most part, I think that this will work for you just because, you're going to iron out all of the content stuff that you don't feel comfortable with. And you're going to be putting yourself in a high stress, test, environment when you take your third party full lengths. And, we should see what we want to see is, retention of the psych social cars scores. Um, but I think what we want to do is raise our, CP and BB scores to be, somewhat comparable. So like for instance, let's say you had a yeah, the if you brought your CP up to like just by 4 points to 129, and if you brought your BB up by 5 points, 124, that would be 9 total added to the 508, which would be, the 517, which I think that, yeah, that's something that you were kind of getting towards the end of the AMC full lengths. Um, so that's what we're going to be looking for when it comes to doing these practice tests. So, we want to see like growth in these sections. So, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I mean, after the third party exams, that's when I have the students do the AMC exams. Just because also the third party exams will have some significant score deflation, like anywhere between 6 to 14 points deflation. Uh, so yeah, usually I have students do the AMC tests after just so they can see like kind of like a score boost. Um, Maybe we'll do that for you at the end, but also yeah, because the AMC full length that you took were prior to August 2023, right? So so yeah, let's I guess feel it out and see if like I think at most maybe this third party full length 6 over here we can maybe replace that with um an AMC exam that that you haven't done in a while, just so we can see the kind of like no more score deflation, just so we can see your score kind of boost in a way. So that's what we can do for maybe this last Saturday before your actual test. But yeah, prior to that, it'll just be the third party full lengths. So, yeah, how do you feel about this type of uh study
Um,
schedule?
I agree. I really want to see those two like science section scores
Mhm. Go on.
like raise.
Yep. How do you feel about this type of like study schedule? Do you feel like, I mean, like everything that I'm putting down is just kind of, It's not like as customized yet, but I guess once I have some more information about like the world stuff that you are doing, we can kind of write in, or yeah, we can kind of write instead of like just UWorld targeted content, we can write in like specifically like UWorld, you know, 30 questions on the renal system or something, you know.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be as generic as it looks right now. Uh,
It's
yep.
it feels more manageable because I feel like before this I was like, oh my gosh, I work full time, so I don't know how I'm going to be able to do all these questions.
Mhm,
And
mhm.
like there's also the AMC material, and just so much to do that I want to do, but I just feel like I didn't have the time to fit it in.
Yeah, as far as the AMC material is concerned, most of that stuff is um no longer useful just because it's from the old MCAT, the pre-2015 MCAT. They only include it just so you feel like you're getting, more for your more of your money's worth. But the only thing that's really relevant in on the AMC in the AMC material other than, the practice tests is the section bank. Um And that's different from the question packs. Have you done that? The AMC section bank?
Yeah, I did the section bank. I did find it very hard, and everyone was like, the actual test would be easier. It wasn't really my experience. It was more like the section bank. So I wish I had like practiced more with that level of material. I did do the question packs for like chemistry and physics, and they were very easy.
Yeah,
So like I didn't have that like hard passage practice that I needed for the test.
got it. So, and you completed the AMC section bank. And by the section bank, you know what I mean, right? It's like there's a CP one, a BB, a psych social 100 questions each.
Yeah, I did that.
Okay, and you did that like, yeah, I guess like prior to your August 2023 date, right? So, okay, okay, that's good to know. Yeah, so that's the only thing that's still relevant as far as the AMC material is concerned, and then of course the cars question packs because cars is the only section that hasn't changed. And there's also the cars diagnostic tool, but again, you're not. It seems like cars, I don't want you to like completely neglect it, of course, but it doesn't seem to be, yeah, it seems to be your one of your least biggest problems. So yeah,
I was wondering if when I do these third party tests, instead of using Jack Weston, I could maybe use these like AMC passages.
yep,
Uh, yeah, maybe they're more useful. Mhm.
yeah. So yeah, that's what I also have people do. um it could be a little more well, okay, for the AMC cars question pack one, question pack two, and then there's a diagnostic tool. um are there any of those that you haven't done before?
Yeah, I think I did like part of the first question pack, but I never really finished it. So I actually haven't really done any of the cars material
Okay, so
apart from like the ones from the practice test.
yep, got it. So yeah, okay. So what you would do in that case is you would, once you're finished with the CP section of the Altius or Blueprint test, you're gonna go to the AMC, prep hub or whatever, and you're going to click on, whatever cars question back one, like wherever you left off, um, and you're just going to select like it's not going to be like exact, but you're going to select like close to like 53, like, nine passages worth to replicate that. Because like the thing with the Jack Weston standalone exams are that they already are, you
Mm.
know, 53 questions and stuff. So, but it's still fine if you use AMC. You're just gonna have to do that, like customize that a bit, and adjust it, which we'll just, do once we convert the score. But yeah, you could totally do that. You can totally just move on over to AMC for cars.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, Okay, yeah. So yeah, how do you feel about all of this?
Good. Um, do you think that it's enough time for me? Because I know it's 9 weeks. Um,
Yeah, yeah, I do. If it turns, yeah, I think that it's enough time for you to finish up the content, the targeted content review for UWorld. You're going to be doing, 6 practice tests, which is a good amount to do. And they're going to be harder. So you're going to learn a lot in between, these practice tests. So, and that's what you're going to be devoting your, March month to. And then, yeah, I always have students do the last one like a full week before their actual test because, I don't want people, to be stressing out and whatever. Um, Not getting enough like rest and stuff for the week of that MCAT. But yeah, no, you certainly have enough time, and you know, and it's not like you're coming to me, with like a 490 or something. It's like, you clearly know what you're doing for a lot of these sections. It's just that just that you have to get over um some of your content gaps, and then for like a lot of the other stuff, like the oh yeah, I should also write down like, so we could also say like, so let's see, this today, or wait, so this is like tutor meeting one, whatever, planning. So whenever we meet next, let's say it's like, on next Saturday or something, um we can go over like, we'll go over questions you have from the UWorld stuff that uh will have been doing, but yeah, we can also go over those like physics concepts that you mentioned, and then the carbohydrates and lipids and stuff, because yeah, when we the best so like whenever we meet, there's like a couple of things we can do. We can like go over a passage together, um go over like questions together, um but also like, if you want like to just be like, okay, just tell me everything I need to know about um light, or tell me everything I need to know about circuits or something, then I can, kind of like teach you all of that stuff from like it, from scratch essentially. Same thing with Orgo and all the other topics. So that would be something that we can do when we meet. And then there was one more. Oh yeah, and then the math stuff yeah. So I'm gonna write down like, okay, things to go over during meeting. So like physics concepts, um, like biomolecules, that's like the carbs and stuff. Um, oh yeah, math, MCAT math. I have lots of really good stuff for that. Um,
and also, just timing strategies.
yes, yes.
Again, like I actually didn't finish that cars section. I didn't read the last passage even.
Oh,
So just in all of the sections, I had timing issues.
yeah, yeah. So yeah, I can go more into timing strategies, like once we start, towards the end of the month, once we start the full lengths. But basically, the timing strategy um, is going to be composed of 3 checkpoints, and because you don't want to constantly be looking at the clock. So the 3 checkpoints will be essentially like when you get to question 20, first checkpoint. When you get to question 40, next checkpoint. So what I mean is like, okay, question 20, that would be 1/3 of the exam, right? So you should have like 1 hour if it's, not cars, right? You should have like 30 minutes pass, right? So like let's say that when you're on question 20 and you check the time and it's like an hour, 5 minutes remaining, you're good. An hour remaining, you know, you're okay. If it's less than an hour remaining, just gently kind of tell yourself, okay, I'm just gonna go a little bit faster. And then when you get to question 40, you should have like, I guess, like sort of like, I guess 45, or rather, it's a little bit more than like halfway through. Um, but that would be like, the second third. And then question 59, which is I'm rounding to 60, would be like, the when you finish. So like basically you're just gonna check the clock at, you know, one third into it, then two-thirds into it, and that's pretty much, so like you'll just have multiple times to checkpoints to adjust your pace.
Okay.
But yeah, we can go into that more when we, start the practice tests. Um, but yeah, when we meet, we can go over like, yeah, whatever concepts and stuff that you want me to go over, as well as like MCAT math stuff, and yeah, pretty much anything.
Sounds good.
Yep. Awesome. So, um, do you want to meet like next week, same like time and stuff?
Yes.
Okay. So putting you down for, so 5 p.m. East, you're in the East Coast?
Yes.
Okay. Where in the East Coast are you?
Really?
Okay, that's cool. Where are you, like in no, you finished college, right?
Yeah.
Where'd you go?
To Penn.
UPenn?
Yes.
Oh wow. Okay. Wow. That explains, a lot of these high scores here. Um, that's pretty cool. All right. So, um, should I put you down for like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hours?
Um, I don't know. I guess I feel like we could start with an hour and then as like I do practice tests, I might need a longer time. But I
Sure.
guess for now, since it's most of like the U World content questions that we might be going over, we could start with an hour.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. So I put you in for Saturday the 17th at 5 p.m. Eastern for 1 hour. Um and I'm trying to stop my share. Sorry about that. My like Zoom just crashed. But what was I going to say? Oh yeah. So okay. Yeah. So I'll see you then, and